What is going on? So we are back for another episode of the Elite Development Podcast. We're going to get into it in just a minute here. But before we do, as always, make sure to, as always, if you have not tuned into the show before, make sure you check it out on the website, www.elitedevelopmentpodcast.ca. If you have tuned into the show before, you know the deal. We are here to help impact athletes. We are here to help athletes reach new levels of themselves in their sport and deliver those tips and tricks you need in order to succeed in your athletic career at a higher level. Excuse me. So today we are going to be talking about creating your blueprint for athletic success. And the reason we're going to talk about this is because this is something that a lot of athletes don't have. They have desire, they have dreams, they have goals of, reaching the top in their career, in their sport, but they don't have anyone to look to. A lot of people don't know someone who has accomplished the things that they want to accomplish. So right before we get into it, make sure to drop me a comment right now to let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know whether you are here live or back on the replay. And let me know as we go through it what you're taking away from this episode. The key to any kind of information consumption, like listening to this podcast, is doing something with the information. We want you guys taking things away. We want you guys applying things to your own careers. So let's get into the show now. We're talking about creating the blueprint for athletic success in 3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the number one show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we are going to be talking about creating the blueprint for athletic success. Now, why are we talking about this? And what the fuck's the blueprint for athletic success? So first off, we're talking about creating the blueprint for athletic success because this is something that a lot of athletes don't have. A lot of you guys are going about your careers basically, with a goal that is way far away in the future, looking at where you're at right now, and then just working hard and hoping that it works itself out. And what you're missing is intention. What you're missing is actual intent upon every single day of what you're doing and how it's leading you closer to that goal. Because I'm going to say something right off the start that's going to trigger many, many, many of you out there listening to this, but it's here to help you, so I don't care. Hard work is not the only answer. Yes, you have to work hard in order to succeed in your career. However, hard work is not the only answer. You're not going to just put in work every day and magically become a world champion in your sport. You're not just going to put in work every day and then magically have someone pay you millions of dollars to compete in your sport. It's not how it works. So get that out of your head right now and start understanding how to create that blueprint for a successful career. So the first step in creating the blueprint for athletic success is knowing what that final goal is. Because I speak a lot on this show about, becoming a world champion, but that is not everyone's goal. And so if that is not truly your goal, if that is not truly what you want, that is okay. Don't sit here and think, I have to want to become a world champion because, I should. If there are some people that, their goal for their athletic career is to compete at a professional level for a few years so that they can gain a reputation, so that they can open a gym and become a coach. And if that's your goal, fuck yeah, pursue it. Don't talk like you want to be a world champion if that's not what you want to be. If your end goal is to get into coaching, focus on doing what you need to do as an athlete to get into coaching. On the other side, if your goal is to become a world champion, is to rise through the ranks, is to have a legendary career, be the pay-per-view star, all of those cool things, awesome. Good for you. Understand, hard work is not the only answer. So what do I mean when I say that? So number one is create a clear vision of what you are actually working towards. Are you hoping to open a gym in the future one day? Are you hoping to just have a couple of years competing professionally just to say that you could and then move on to whatever's next in your life? Are you trying to become a world champion, trying to rise through the ranks, trying to do all that cool shit? Whatever that answer for you is, be clear on it. So as an example, for myself, my goal is to have a team of coaches working for me one day because my goal is impact. When I was growing up and I was going through sport, I didn't believe that a career as a professional athlete was possible for me because I didn't see that blueprint. I didn't see that person that I could look to and go, wow, if they can do it, I can do it too. And so I didn't allow myself to try. And because I didn't allow myself to try, that led me into some pretty dark places in my life. I'm not going to lie. That led me to a lot of years of, pursuing the regular 9 to 5, go to school, get a job, find the girl, that kind of stuff, which is, all well and good if that's you, but that just never felt right to me. But I was pursuing it because I felt like that was the only path for me. And so I want to be the voice for athletes worldwide that allows them to actually see the blueprint of how they can make their athletic dreams come true so that they don't go through those same issues, so that they are actually able to look back on their athletic careers and say, I did it right and I got as far as I could and I reached my true potential, instead of like me looking back on my athletic career and saying, wow, I didn't even fucking try because I didn't understand that something was possible. I didn't, see any kind of future in it. So I just gave up before I even started. So that is my why. That is what I'm working towards, which means that as a coach myself, I want to impact the most amount of people possible. So I want to create a team that I can train with that same vision and that same approach that I have, so that I can impact all of them. And in turn, they can impact that many more athletes worldwide. And we can have that greater global impact that I'm after. So for yourself, what are you actually working towards? What is that final goal? What level do you want to reach? How much money do you want to make? What kind of impact do you want to have on the world? What kind of platform do you want? Every piece of life, not just career. Because that way, if you're more clear on all of those things, you can create a clearer path to get there. But if you're sitting here right now and your goal is just, yeah, I want to do real well, it's like, fucking cool. What does that mean? What does that mean? And if you don't know what that means, then how are you going to create a path to get there? What does doing really well look like? What do you need to do every day to do really well? When you're tired, exhausted, you don't want to train, how are you getting yourself up and getting yourself to the gym just to do really well? Right? You get what I'm saying? For me, if I didn't have that clear why and I was just like, yeah, I like coaching, then on the days where I wake up and I don't feel like doing anything, I wouldn't do anything, because I like coaching isn't enough drive to push through days that I don't want to push through. Whereas I want to have a global impact that changes the way that the world sees strength and conditioning, a much easier way to have a much larger scale impact, and much easier way to push myself to actually push through on those days that I don't want to do anything. So, number one, figure out the clear reason why. Number two, figure out the person you need to be in order to actually achieve those goals. So for myself as a coach, number one, I need to be a good leader. If I am not a good leader, then if I bring coaches onto my team, they're not going to want to work for me, because why would they want to work for someone who isn't a good leader? Number two, and these are not in any specific order, I need to be a good coach, because if I'm not a good coach, then the athletes that work with me aren't going to want to work with me, because if I'm not good at what I do, then why would they stay? And also, if I'm not good at what I do, how am I going to actually have that impact that I want to have? So I need to be a good coach. I need to be a good leader. So each and every day, I have things on my to-do list that improve my leadership abilities and improve my coaching abilities. That's time every day that I'm doing research into different areas of coaching. That is education every day on leadership development, leadership qualities, things like that, that I can help improve myself, both for my future team as well as all of my current athletes. Those are things that I need to work on every single day to have the impact that I want to have. So for yourselves, when you look at what your goals are for the future, let's say world champion, one huge trait that comes to mind is you need to be disciplined. You need to do shit even on the days you don't want to. So right now, if you're saying that you're going to be a world champion one day, but then when you don't feel like training, you say, fuck it, and you don't go train, understand that is not the path to becoming a world champion. Even if you work super hard a lot of the time, you not being disciplined is not the path to becoming a world champion. So how can you work on that discipline today? So number two is understanding the person you need to be in order to achieve the goals that you have for your career. And if you can understand who that person is, now each and every week, you can put concentrated efforts into becoming closer to that person today. And that's not to say that you need to be that person today. You don't need to wake up today and all of a sudden be that world champion version of yourself. But the clearer you are on who that person is, how you become that person, the easier it's going to be for you to take concentrated steps each and every day to get closer to becoming that person down the road. So number 2 is understanding the person that you need to become in order to make those dreams come true. Number 3, creating the blueprint for athletic success, is understanding the gaps in who you are right now compared to the person that you need to become down the road to achieve the goals you have for your career. So as an example, we're talking about the discipline. Like we just said, if you understand that to be a world champion, you need to be disciplined and you need to show up with passion, energy, enthusiasm, excitement to classes and to training, irregardless of how you feel on any given day, and you are not like that right now, what is something you can start doing to start working on that discipline? And don't just magically say, yeah, just show up. Like, there's ways to actually go about working on these qualities to improve them long term. So yes, in the end, the answer is just start showing up even if you don't want to. But how do you get yourself to start showing up even when you don't want to? Because if you can understand the gaps between who you are today and who you need to be to accomplish the goals you have in your career, you can start putting work outside of just training into becoming that person. So for myself, again, when we were talking about that, one of the biggest things that I needed to develop was leadership qualities, right? And in the beginning of my career, that was a very, very difficult thing for me. When, I needed to have a hard conversation, I would just back out of the hard conversation instead of having it. And then I realized that if I'm going to become a coach that impacts thousands, if not millions of people around the world, then if I'm not getting what I need from an athlete, I need to tell them, listen up, you're not giving me what I need. I need this, this, and this from you if I'm going to help you reach the next level. And so I started having those hard conversations, even though in the beginning, that was a huge fear of mine, that if I start calling people out, they're not going to like me anymore. If they don't like me anymore, they're not going to work with me anymore. But I started realizing that if I'm going to be an authority, if I'm going to be somebody that athletes listen to, then they need to get called the fuck out every once in a while. And that's not a shot at anybody. We all make mistakes. We all have things that we fuck up. We all have things that we need to get called out on. But if you are going to be a high-level athlete, you need to be able to take that criticism too. So I started having those tough conversations. And a couple of my athletes know that because I've had them with them. So that was one of the things that every time I found myself saying, oh, I'll just let that slide, I had to flip the script on myself and say, who are you trying to become? You're trying to become a coach that impacts millions of people around the world. The coach that impacts millions of people around the world has this fucking conversation. He doesn't let it slide. And then I'd have the conversation, and sometimes they've gone poorly. Most of the time they've gone very well. But that is moving me closer to becoming the person that I need to become to achieve the goals that I have for my career. So think about that the same way with yourself. If you are trying to become a world champion MMA fighter, and right now you're a striker, that's the stuff you enjoy. You love the boxing, you love the kickboxing, but all the ground game, the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, all that, you're not such a fan of. Well, if you are trying to move yourself closer to that world champion athlete that you want to be one day, does that world champion athlete slack off on the stuff they need the most work on, or do they show the fuck up when they need to put the work into their weaknesses? They show the fuck up. So you have the choice. Do you want to be that person who shows the fuck up and actually works towards becoming a world champion one day? Or do you want to be the person who says, I don't have time to go to jiu-jitsu tonight, or I don't have time to, wrestle on the weekend. So I'm just going to do the kickboxing class and then take off after that. Because again, time might be tight, but the world champion version of yourself shows the fuck up for the shit they're not good at. They show the fuck up for the things they need to put the most work into. Period. End of story. You don't get to become the world champion if you're not showing up and improving the things that you're weaker at every single day. And that goes the same for the reverse, by the way. If you've got all the skill in the world, but you're weak as shit and you get physically dominated by opponents, guess what? Your strength and conditioning, your weightlifting, your conditioning work, that is where you need to show up regardless of how the fuck you feel. Because I've worked with these athletes before and I've seen this time and time again. People say, oh, I just need to, spend more time on my jiu-jitsu or spend more time on my boxing or spend more time here or there. No, you don't. Your skills are fine. You're just fucking weak because you don't do anything to build your strength. So yeah, you can beat some of the guys right now with that skill set. But as you start rising through the ranks and you start facing bigger, stronger, faster opponents, your skill set might be fine. But if you are not physically strong, you're going to get fucked. And so you need to figure out where you're weak and you need to show up for the things that you are weak in to fix those problems. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to reach the levels that you want to reach, period. So creating the blueprint for athletic success. We've talked about a couple of different things now. We've talked about figuring out exactly what you're working towards, figuring out what kind of person you need to become in order to reach those levels, figuring out where the gaps are between that person you need to become and where you're at now. And finally, the last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to creating the blueprint for athletic success is making adjustments. You can't stick to the same training all the time forever and expect it to continually work for you. There are going to hit points where you need to switch up how you're doing things. There are going to hit points where you need to learn from different coaches. There are going to hit points where you need to make adjustments in other areas of your life as well. Right now, if you're just doing skills training and lifting weights a couple times a week, there's going to hit a point where you're going to need to focus more on your nutrition. If right now you're just doing your skills training and just working on your nutrition, there's going to hit a point where you need to start lifting weights. There's going to hit a point where you're working full time and you're having to work around that. There's going to hit a point where you can quit that full-time job and you can fight full time and you need to figure out how to manage that schedule now. There's going to hit a point where you've got media obligations. You've got this, you've got that, you've got whatever else. And you need to be continuing to figure out how to adjust to new levels as they come. One thing that one of my mentors told me, which was really stuck with me, is new levels bring new devils, which means that you right now on the regional scene, a couple of fights into your career, wherever it is exactly that you're at, whatever got you to this point isn't going to get you to the next point. So when you start reaching that next point, you are going to need to level up as a human being, not just continue to do exactly what you're doing right now. And in turn, that is going to help push you to the next level and the next level and the next level as you continue to move forward in your career. But if you try to just keep doing what you're doing right now, you are going to hit that cap that is going to take you a certain distance and then it's going to plateau. But if you are not looking for that next addition you can make or that next change you can make or that next thing you can do, there's going to hit a point where you are going to plateau in your career. So continue to make adjustments, continue to look for what you need to change to reach the next level, and you will continue to move forward in that blueprint for athletic success. So I hope this was valuable. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, I would love to know what it was. Shoot me a message on any of my social media platforms or drop a comment right now if you're here on the live. And make sure, my one ask of you guys all the time is to just share the show with a friend, share the show with a teammate, share the show with a coach, share the show with somebody who needs to hear this message. This is a smaller show. Our goal is to reach millions of athletes around the world, like I said, and we do that through word of mouth. We do that through you guys sharing it around, you guys sharing it to teammates, friends, coaches, all of the above. So anybody who tunes in consistently, just know I appreciate you. I appreciate those who share the show and those who message me about their takeaways. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll talk again very soon.